Hi everyone, it's Tamara here for lalalandcrafts with another card making tutorial. This week I'm using the Ahoy Matey clear stamp set plus some dies from the recent release to make an interactive pirate card. I'll be doing some Copic colouring of the images plus some die cuts and some letters and then making the interactive card. So let's get started with some colouring. grabbed some Copic Express cardstock, and I'm going to be using the sunken ship die, including the sand, and cut that out of that Copic Express because I'll be colouring that up with some of my Copics, and also the bold letters dies also cut out of Copic Express for some Copic colouring as well. I'll put on some music now while I do the colouring of those. I'm going to be creating a slimline card today, but I'll be using the Pirates treasure die to create a kind of extended map. So I need to do some partial die cutting so I can extend this die to make it a slimline. So I've only put the top plate up to near the top of that die so that it will only cut up and not fully cut through. And then I'll pop it back into my die cutting machine turned around, and now we want to again cut it with that top plate only partially cutting that die. So we'll pop it on the top again, run that through the machine. So you just have to be careful as you feed it through, and then you'll see that I just need to do a little bit of trimming to get that fully cut through, but it's really got most of it cut. So you just kind of want to make it a little bit jagged to match in with the other parts of that die. So it's really simple just to cut that around, and now we've got the perfect shaped slimline card base. I'll be also using the second smallest postage stamp die to cut out my little openings, and again we're going to be doing some partial die cutting so that we're able to keep that sealed up the top but open at the bottom, and that will allow people to open that up to see what's underneath. So I'm just kind of centering that into the middle of that panel and just a little bit down from the top so that we can secure that panel once we put that on our card front. So again, just hold that top plate. You can see I struggled a little bit because it kept on wanting to push it out. So you just kind of have to hold that top plate firmly as you push that through the die cutting machine. And we only just need to cut that small top, but I don't think it went all the way through. It moved down again. So I'm going to try that once more, just holding that top, and we'll run that through to make sure that cuts it up as high as we want so that I can get that open. So now I'm wanting a second opening, doing the same thing down the bottom, but initially I'm just going to try and just cut that top part again because it didn't quite get up as far as I wanted. So we'll just quickly run that through so it goes up a little bit further. pull that off, and now you can see that that goes up to where I need it. And now we'll do the second one down the bottom exactly the same way, just centering that in the middle, just up from the bottom. We'll tape that down with some low tack tape, and again only just partially putting that top plate on so it doesn't cut that panel all the way through. Again, just you can see really takes you a bit of a knack to hold that top plate in place and run that through the die cutting machine to get that fully cut through. We'll pull that off, and then you can see that folds up. It's a little bit short on one side. Again, I'm just going to use those scissors just to trim up so that we've got an even amount on both sides. So I'm just grabbing that scissors and just kind of, again, just kind of doing that zigzag look to match in with the other part of the postage stamp. Now I've grabbed out my scoreboard, and we're just wanting to put a line between where those two openings are at the top of our little doors. So just be careful just to only run it through where the actual openings are. So kind of line up that in that little scoreboard and run that through, and then you can just work those little panels up. So now we've got our two little openings for our pirate treasure or whatever you want behind that. So I'm going to be using some cream cardstock to sit my black pirate panel on. So I'm just using that as a guide so that I get a nice kind of even border around each side, but I will have all the measurements in the description box below for you. So I'm just flipping that around, lining that up so that it's even on all four sides, and we'll get that cut and ready to go for our pictures to go on. I grabbed this pattern paper from the Vacations paper pack, and I'm going to be using two of these square seams for the openings behind my two panels. So I'm just cutting out the two ones that I need, and the good thing is with those other two panels I'll set them aside, as I'd definitely be able to use those on another project. Now, as these are just that little bit bigger than the actual panel, I need to trim them down so they don't show behind that pirate map panel. So I'm just going to use my pencil and just use that as a guide to where I need to trim those down to make sure they fit behind there. So I'll just mark that top and bottom with where I want. So you just want to place your image exactly with the portion that you want showing through your opening. And I'll show you again on this bottom panel. I'm kind of wanting that sun and a bit of the water and the rocks to show through. So I'll just put my markings down where I need them, and we'll just get them trimmed down to size. So I've just grabbed out my tonic trimmer and just cutting exactly where I've placed my pencil marks. On this one I can't actually see where my pencil mark is. There it is. So we'll get that cut down and get these trimmed exactly where I've got those little pencil marks. So now they fit in behind perfectly with our openings. Now I definitely recommend using some liquid adhesive here, because you may need just to wiggle it to make sure you're getting exactly the picture that you're wanting showing through your openings. And we'll do the same with the top. Just kind of lining that panel up first and then just testing that out once that's in the right place. So give them a good press down. Now we're wanting to get our panel attached to the front, so you could do this with some foam tape, but I'm just going to use liquid adhesive to get this attached. And if you wanted to leave a little bit of room where there's no glue underneath those openings, that way you can tuck in some little items behind those two openings as well. So I've just left a little bit of space so that you can tuck things in there. Now I've got all my images colored and cut out, so I'm just going to work out where I want everything placed. Initially I was going to have that sand kind of sitting partially over that opening and then just do a little bit of a score mark, but I found that I will be able to fit it into this spot where I need it without getting in the way of that opening. But because his little feet were showing through that boat hole, I'm most ready to just give them a trim up so that he's kind of hidden behind in that boat looking out for the treasure. So I'm just lining up. I'm going to have my Ahoy word over that opening. I'll have the sub-sentiment just down the bottom here. And I was thinking of putting this guy kind of down there, but I think he would just get in the way of that opening when you're trying to open it up, and he'd be in the way. So I'm going to pop him, I think, up the top so that he's obviously got the map and is ready looking out to find where the treasure is. So we'll do a little bit of scissor surgery to get him attached to our boat, so now his legs don't show through that hole. And we'll just get him attached to the back of that boat. So just kind of lining that up with him partially sitting over the sails but behind. So just pop a little bit of glue on that sail where it sits over. Now I'm going to line this up and work out where I'm going to need my sand to sit, so that boat's kind of resting in that sand. So work that out, grab the glue, and we'll just get that attached. Then once that's attached, we'll get it attached to the front of our boat, sorry, our card. Just putting a little bit of glue over the back. Line that up with the top of that bottom score mark, making sure it gives that panel plenty of room to open. And then we'll get our sub-sentiment attached to that bottom opening, just centering that in the middle. Now we'll get our Ahoy lined up on our top panel, so we're definitely not wanting any glue to go on the edges of the A or the Y. So the A, we're only putting the glue on the right hand side so that there's glue free on the left, and with the Y I'm just going to use the other letters to work out where I want that. We're only wanting glue on the right hand side, no glue, on the left hand side, no glue on the right hand side for the Y. So we'll get our H popped on there, kind of partially sitting over that A and just angled to a different angle. And we'll do the same with our O, sitting over the H and the Y, and just kind of offset to the left. The final guy is going to sit up the top, so we only want a little bit of glue on the bottom of him as he sits over the top of that panel. Just make sure that it's not blocking that opening for our top opening. And now I've already cut and scored a slimline cardstock in black. So because we've got no foam tape on any of this, I've decided to kind of prop this up with some foam tape to our card base. So I'm just putting some foam all the way down to make sure we're good and supported. And then we can pop actually a little bit of foam to the edge of that top bird just to secure him to that card base as well. Just making sure that that's not showing behind. So I just wanted to move that over a little bit. We'll take off all the release paper on our foam tape. Make sure we're doing that on the right side and just centering that to our card front, and give that a good press down and make sure that foam tape's not showing. And this is a finished card for this tutorial. As I said, with these openings, you could either use the paper pack like I have, or you could add a few extra things, like you could use the coins from the treasure chest, or actually use the whole treasure chest itself to kind of tuck into that bottom opening for someone to find. And I did leave a small gap up the top for you to be able to tuck something, but you could make it a little bit bigger and tuck something like money or a gift card for the recipient to find on their treasure hunt around this card. So you could just either stick it down like plain, or use double-sided tape for the recipient to be able to open that up. But I think it looks really pretty with that beautiful pattern paper pieces behind, showing these different images of where these parrots are going to go on their exploration looking for some treasure. I hope you've enjoyed this card making tutorial. This one was so fun to make. If you have, please hit the like button, and if you'd like to see any future videos, please hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.